In the past few years, Tottenham have been title challengers and Champions League finalists, ultimately winning nothing under Mauricio Pochettino. But what did our Football Manager 2015 simulation predict for Spurs by the year 2020? Let's take a look. Well, Football Manager 2015 has not been kind to Tottenham at all, not qualifying for the Champions League once via the Premier League, where the position ranged from 5th to as low as 11th. Pochettino got the sack in May 2017 after a 10th place finish in the Premier League, but just 6 days after his departure, the club would win some silverware. They beat Norwich in the FA Cup final, suggesting maybe Poch was just destined to never win a thing in North London. Nowadays, Pochettino isn't in a high-profile job, managing San Lorenzo back in Argentina. His replacement was Ernesto Valverde, and things got even worse under the Spaniard, who was only in the dugout for 188 days, getting the sack in December of 2017. After Valverde, Spurs made a somewhat controversial appointment, going for ex-Norwich boss Alex Neil, a low-profile manager who didn't seem fit for a club with the expectations of Spurs. But then again, maybe that's just a reflection of where they've fallen to in the game. His first season ended with Tottenham's lowest finish of the simulation, ending the 2017-18 campaign in 11th position. Spurs also got a new stadium in the simulation, with new White Hart Lane opening in 2018. It's not quite as big as the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in reality, with the FM Arena holding 56,250 people. The 2019-20 Premier League campaign ended with a 1-1 draw with Blackburn, leaving Spurs in 9th place. However, that wasn't their final game of the season. Alex Neil had taken Tottenham to the final of the Europa League, where his side faced Schalke. And they got the win, with Neil getting major silverware and qualifying Spurs for next season's Champions League. They won the game 2-0 at the Aviva Stadium, so let's take a look at who started. In goal was Hugo Lloris. Still the Spurs captain in between the sticks, Lloris has been the number one throughout the simulation and has actually just enjoyed his best Premier League season with an average rating of 7.04. His other seasons have been high sixes, recording 12 clean sheets in the 16-17 season. He's unchallenged though, with the Frenchman's understudy being promising regen Rory Simmonds, who got a 7.4 and kept a clean sheet on his one and only Premier League appearance last season. Right back was Gino Peruzzi. A £3.4 million signing from Real Madrid, the Argentinian defender actually has Premier League experience under his belt, getting his big break in England with Swansea back in 2016, where his performances earned him a sizable move to the Spanish capital. Back in the Premier League with Spurs though, Peruzzi has done alright, getting 4 assists in the league as well as another 4 in Europe. His understudy is Romanian Constantin Nica, who as you can see has not done very well at all. Centre back was Antonio Rudiger. The Chelsea man is a Spurs player on Football Manager 2015, swapping Stuttgart for Tottenham in 2018 for a modest fee of £40 million. I'll be honest, it doesn't look like a great deal. He wasn't that good in the Bundesliga and he's been no better in the Premier League. But the Europa League final was a great day for the defender, getting a great rating of 7.7 to truly earn his winner's medal. He was alongside Salafou Diallo. While this hasn't been a great simulation for Spurs, signing regen Salafou Diallo is probably one of their best bits of business. He cost £4.8 million from Nantes, and the 20-year-old has already got 6 caps for France, as well as boasting the versatility to play at left back as well. But at the heart of defence, just look at his attributes, and he's only going to get better. But Diallo isn't Tottenham's only other option at centre back. They also have a certain Phil Jones, who's actually the club's vice captain. Costing almost £20 million right at the start of the simulation, you have to give credit to Phil Jones, as he's actually been pretty good in a Spurs shirt. Whether or not he's been pulling his usual faces on the game, we'll never know. Left back was Neil Taylor. Spurs already had one Welsh left back in Ben Davies, but they added another to their squad in 2018, signing Neil Taylor from Swansea City in a deal that saw Kyle Walker go the other way. And to Taylor's credit, he's been a lot better than I would have thought in a Tottenham shirt. But he's got competition from a man who's a current Arsenal man in the real world, Sead Kolasinac. However, when you look at the average ratings, Taylor shouldn't fear the Bosnian like those guys who try to rob Ozil do. Centre midfield was Nabil Bentaleb. A player who Spurs sold in the real world, Nabil Bentaleb has stayed in North London much longer on FM, getting to start the Europa League final where he got a lovely rating of 7.4. But to be fair, he hasn't actually been that amazing for Spurs. His best season of the simulation was the 2015-16 campaign, where he scored loads of goals and got loads of assists. The only issue was he was on loan at QPR. Bentaleb has been averaging just shy of 7s, which is okay, but maybe suggest midfielders where they've struggled over years if they slump into the bottom half. He was alongside Gaston Gil Romero. This Argentinian midfielder joined Spurs in the summer of 2019, costing £12.75 million from Atletico Mineiro in Brazil. He had an okay first season, an average rating of 6.96, but he faces competition from now on. Spurs have just brought in veteran midfielder Ivan Rakitic, who should improve things, and they've also got Victor Wanyama, who they signed in the real world and on FM. The only difference here is that they got him from Man City rather than Southampton. They've also got Dennis Pratt, but his first season rating of 6.48 suggests he isn't quite cut out for life at New White Hart Lane. Our attacking midfield trio kicks off with Christian Eriksen. With a contract until 2024, Football Manager Christian Eriksen is a lot happier in North London than the real one, and he's absolutely their best player. Let's look at his figures. 11 goals, 10 assists last season, 19 Premier League goals the year before, and he was also a scorer in the Europa League final, a win that will likely make Eriksen more keen to stay at Spurs as Champions League football beckons. Next up is Roberto Firmino. Signed in 2019 for £23 million from Hoffenheim, Bobby Firmino's debut season in England was one to remember, scoring 16 goals and providing 16 assists in all competitions. It just begs the question, why didn't he get his move away from Hoffenheim sooner? But Firmino is a key player for Tottenham, oddly with the number 6 on his back, and could play a big role in taking them back to the table where they belong. Our third attacking midfielder is Paulo Dybala. Christ, this attacking lineup is ridiculous. How on earth did they finish 9th? Dybala was also a scorer in the Europa League final, his 14th goal of the season. The Argentinian has been decent in a white shirt but can't hold a candle to Eriksen, then again not many players can. I've just remembered this nearly became a reality last year, didn't it? Imagine if Dybala had actually joined Spurs. He could have been training in a London park with Jose Mourinho right now while the lockdown continues. And up front was Harry Kane. The England forward is still Tottenham's main man leading the line, hitting double figures in the Premier League in every season of the simulation. While his numbers are great, they're not quite as good as in the real world, as Kane has yet to score more than 20 league goals in a campaign, suggesting Football Manager 2015 didn't quite see Kane having as much success as he has. But then again, I don't think anyone did. He's not really threatened at Spurs either, his backups being woeful Swiss forward Admir Mehmedi and new arrival King Divock Origi, who probably barely played just because that's what he does. So that's Tottenham in 2020 according to Football Manager 2015. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and as always don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Elecspo, and until next time we'll see you around.